Hey everybody. So we've been getting a lot of new countries jump on to the listener list. We've been getting a lot of new listeners who interact with us more. We've also been seeing a lot of podcast startup, and there's even been some who have contemplated taking that journey to start a podcast. We like to take this time to give a little backstory on ourselves, sort of a small history on the podcast. And this is also a way for these new listeners, these new people, these aspiring podcasters to know a little bit about us without having to scroll all the way back to episode 1, episode 0. But we do highly recommend you do listen to it because the transition for us was pretty epic.
Yeah.
Epic.
Some of you have heard this information once or twice before. We did it in the beginning. We like to do it every so often just to kind of, to touch base with those new listeners who maybe started on a more recent episode and haven't gone all the way back to the beginning. But those of you who have heard us before, thank you for being longtime listeners and for your support and bearing with us as we regurgitate some of the same data.
I love it. But I love talking about stuff like this because I fell in love with our origin story. If that's arrogant of me or big-headed of me, I'm sorry. But I like hearing our own origin story because when I see other people like having similar issues or having struggles or they just can't find ways to line things up, it makes me be more appreciative of just how we had the same problems and how we worked through it. And it's kind of like our way of contributing, like, hey, like you'll get through it. Just keep going. You'll find your groove. You'll find your rhythm. Just don't give up before it starts. And it's funny how, with that, because when we were starting this show, well, let's kind of go back a little bit. Before we started podcasting, MVP and I, we've met through this one organization we all used to work at, and we did a lot of pseudo maintenance control, pseudo director of maintenance, we wore a lot of hats for the office that we were in.
Not all of them were fancy hats either.
Oh no. Some of them were party hats, some of them were clown hats, some of them were just like, what the hell? It's like,
those hats that have they're multicolored to have the little propeller on top. We wore those.
Yes, exactly. I think you actually still have
that have the hands on it with the string where you pull the string and they clap. The hands clap. We've worn those, and those just to cheer for ourselves.
Yeah. Then we always had the dunce cap, but minus the chair, so we had to pretend that we're sitting on a high chair with the dunce cap. So we've met through this one organization, and we were in charge of a whole slew of things. Like, you name it, we did it. Shy of like being the one who signed the paycheck, we basically did it. And our job was it wrung us out pretty hard. But what was more interesting was the people who worked alongside us and air quote beneath us were way more wrung out than us. Just destroyed. And it was
riggedy wrecked, as some might say.
Riggedy, very riggedy. and it was very depressing watching them go through it. Like, you can just see like the lights are on, but they've long since passed away, kind of thing. Like, they were like zombies just walking through life, making stuff happen, and it was bad. And this was we did this in different sites within our organization, and it was the same story. Like, guys were just wrung out, they were beat up, they were tired, they were literally inches away from being involved in the incident because they were just so wrung out. And MVP and myself, we would be walking the line and just kind of try to brighten their day up just a wee bit. We'll joke with them, we'll kind of mess around with them. We would, like, at the end of the work shift, we'll have like this Nintendo game system, just kind of like, hey guys, like, the shift's over, but can you just like sit back and unwind a little bit so you're not going home pissed, right? Just like take a load off for like 5 minutes just to kind of reset your brain.
Yeah, here, take this. I like to use the one here. Take this seed and plant your own trouble tree by your front door.
Yep.
The trouble tree is where you hang all your troubles before you enter the threshold of your home every day,
Right.
and then you don't pick them back up until you leave your house the next day.
Yep. And so that vibe kind of started to spread throughout the people we worked with. So they would see us, and our day would just like visibly get better for like those 3 to 5 seconds we were with them. And it slowly became a thing where our office started to turn into a director of maintenance control, quality assurance kind of an office into like
therapist office.
Yes.
The only thing we were missing was the couch.
Yes. And we actually had like some lo-fi music in the background just to kind of like, well, it was mainly for our stress, but it made whoever visited us that less stressed out. And it slowly did evolve into that. They would just come in our office, park themselves, and then just unload on their day. No prompts. We didn't say nothing. They just show up like, hey, you guys got 5 minutes? Yeah, sure, man. What's up? And they would just dump. And us being like just decent humans, we would sit there and listen to them like, all right, man, let's hear some of your grievances, right? Is it work related? Is it personal related? Whatever. Like, let it be. Because we knew like for them just to unleash like that, it was letting off a lot of load from their internals, from their internals. So when they leave, they're less likely to be involved in some kind of mishap, which was a win-win for us because that was one of the things we did not want to happen.
Yeah, I don't want to fill out no paperwork for no mishap.
Right. Or like having to help you fish your fingers out underneath and piecemeal it together back in your hand kind of thing. It was
I don't want to run to the break room to get a cup of ice to put your thumb on it so you can run to the emergency room. Right.
That was not a thing. And then the pandemic happened. And I feel this is where a lot of podcasters today have their history or their origin story is like the pandemic happened. It's like the extinction event of the dinosaurs or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
So the pandemic happened and then a lot of stuff started to get turned off. Like jobs were lost, resources were lost, all sorts of craziness happened. And this was like almost instantly people were just losing things. Some lost their jobs and all this and that. It was terrible. And we could see everyone's face just like now from whatever level of depression they were starting to show signs of digging. And
yeah, they hit rock bottom and we're starting to show signs of digging.
Yes, it was terrible. And it was even hard on us because we were having insecurities about our lives as well. And we were right in those fears because the place we were at, they were slowly starting to dissolve us or at least dissolve our roles within that area. So we were having some insecurities ourselves and then just seeing all that happen. And it was terrible. It was bad. And then a couple friends of ours, they started doing a podcast. They started taking up podcasts to kind of talk about their day to day and how they're combating this transition phase or how they're making their small startup business work and stuff like that. And one of our friends came up and he says, like, "Hey, you guys should start a podcast." I'm like, "What the fuck is a podcast?" Right? If there were 3 schmoes in the world who knew absolutely nothing about podcasts, it was us. Well, yeah. we knew
I knew what they were and that they existed.
Right. But we didn't know
where they're at. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know nothing about how to get it going, what we needed and this and that. For at least for me anyway, I thought podcast was like a radio show, right? Like some kind of radio show, you need a full on studio. And this was around the time when XM radio, this wasn't time, but XM radio was still a thing. And that was the first thing that came to my mind when I hear podcasting is like, you have to have like a full-fledged radio station to make this work. And so we kind of dabbled, like shot it back and forth for each other. Like, dude, what's a podcast? What's it do? This and that. And we were almost to the point of talking each other out of it. Like,
well, I wouldn't say each other out of it. I know it took some time to get me on board with it just because I was like, oh my gosh, I know zero next to nothing about this. I won't be any good at it. I don't even know what to do. How do I contribute? Six is the real proponent in the success in the of this podcast, right? He was the did all the research, still does all the research. You know, he kind of did the legwork for us and convinced me that, hey, look, you know, it's going to be a fun thing for us to do. It's going to be beneficial to a lot of people to hear, you know, what we got to say and stuff. And then I, you know, and we were lucky that he knew Shoreline, and Shoreline can clean up our voices a little bit and make it not sound like we're underwater all the time, because, you know, that was another concern, right? It was like, okay, well, we can record ourselves, but what are we going to sound like? And is anybody going to want to listen to it if it's poor quality? So we're very fortunate that Six knew Shoreline. Shoreline was willing to join in the fun.
Yes. Yes. And with Shoreline, so he's again on a work trip, which is very great. How Shoreline came into the mix, we actually met him through my adopted daughter. He was he's currently they're currently engaged, and we kind of met them at that stage before they got engaged. He was into live sound and music production, and then when the pandemic hit, he was basically out of a job, and he started to fall into the same depression as us. And so we kind of approached him and say, hey man, like we know this is really hard on you, but are you willing to do a show with us, and to kind of keep him into the spirits and give him something to employ his skill set at? And when he signed up on board, now we started to think like, hey, like, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to do? What are we going to sound like? What's our mantra? What's our vision statement? All that craziness, because that's just how our minds worked. We were very operations oriented at the time being. So we were very like into like, what's our mission statement? What is our vision statement? What's our purpose in life? Right. And it took us maybe like 2 minutes to figure all that out. And the reason why it came so easy was because we were already doing this kind of stuff with people who we worked with. And we started thinking about, let's make this for them. And then we wanted this to be for those people who were having very bad adjustment problems, very bad problems, especially with the pandemic transition. Like, just to have them feel like someone listens to them, or someone knows what they're feeling, right? Not just from a mental health standpoint, but from an occupation standpoint. And so we started looking around for other shows that kind of ran similar to what we had in mind. And there were some aviation shows out there. There's still some aviation shows out there. Matter of fact, I think there's some that are popping up by the week already. But there was none like the ones we wanted to do. Like, there were aircraft maintenance podcasts for sure, absolutely, and they're great. But what they had going on was very instructional. It was very informative. It's like stuff you would listen to study for a test kind of thing. And kudos to them, because their knowledge base is like up there. Some of them upwards combined of 200 years or something like that. Like, they're very smart. And we're not. I'm going to tell right now, we're not. But
yeah, I mean, we're fortunate to be gifted with the brains we got, I guess. Is the best way to say it.
Yes. You know, like we weren't like writing dissertations or anything like that, but we had the experience. Like, we knew what it's like to be the guys on the ground, putting their face to.
We wrote dissertations, but they were in crayon, you know. But we could relate to I think this is where Six is going. We can relate to people a lot more, especially on the line in the hangar. You know, we experienced that. We had gone through it, and we kind of wanted to like share our experiences with it. How to, you know, change your day, how to make your day better, give you a little bit of professional growth. I mean, as most of you know, we don't always strictly talk about, maintenance related stuff. Some of the things we talk about literally happened to us the day that we recorded it. It's like, hey,
Yes.
this is fresh in the mind. I want to talk about this. Like we had one recently about going for a promotion and not getting it. That's not really aircraft maintenance related, but it is career related. So we kind of try to be well rounded a little bit and give everybody the full plate of what aviation maintenance is, because we all know it's not just turning wrenches. There's all different aspects to it that are unrelated to maintenance.
Yes, nail on the head on this one. And so like that was where we were going with, like that was our mindset. We all three of us clicked. It was almost like a flash of inspiration. Like it didn't take us long to figure out what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. Now and then our brain started to shift. Okay, cool. We have a purpose. Now we got to worry about the logistics side of it, because again, we still kind of don't know a whole lot about the mechanism of podcasting. And this was a time before all these fancy apps came about, where like now you Google search podcast, you'll get like 17 pages worth of information. At the time when we did it, it was next to none, or that information was very close to the chest. Like you had to have been in the know to know about it. And we were lucky enough that some of our friends who started the show actually did some kind of instructional literature about this. And we've met a couple other individuals who did something similar, and they've been doing it for at least a year plus from the time the pandemic hit. And again, we had Shoreline, who had the audio production skill set to make stuff like this happen. And so we were very garage band about this, like very, very rudimentary. But we didn't have a whole lot to go off of. And at the time we were kind of suffering from being damn near jobless, let's say that. So
Yeah,
we got
pretty much.
So we got like the cheapest equipment possible, like very, very, very cheap. Like I think
our first mics were $25.
yeah, total probably. I think it was like $20 total.
Right.
That's how rudimentary this was. And so yeah, we got the cheapest mics possible, minus Shoreline, because he still had his stuff from his job. But he was also not in the same state as us. So like for him to come to us was going to be at least a $300 trip both ways, and he didn't have that kind of money to do it. So the less we had him physically with us, the better it was for him. So I mean, he could still do his job, but he couldn't like make the trip to us because of pandemic and stuff. And so we just Google search and found the cheapest equipment we could find. And then it started to come across like, what should we name this? Like, what should we call this stuff? What should we call this show? And we sat about it for like some time. We started joking around, finding all sorts of
ridiculous names,
all sorts of ridiculous names. And I think at the time we were coming up with names. We did this kind of like on the side as a break thing. And then someone came into the office and started talking about some issues they were having some planes. And one of us either said like, well, I was like, oh, it's canceled for maintenance, on time late, or something like that. that was the actual status.
Yeah.
It came through the pipeline. It was like cancel for such and such airplane, cancel for maintenance, on time late. Like, and then we just sat there like, how the fuck does something go on time late?
On time late. Yeah.
What is on time late? So a very quick backstory on time late is whenever an aircraft takes off or not, there's a status that has to be reported to anybody and everybody. Was it on time? Was it delayed? Was it canceled? What was it canceled for? How late was it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was like an oxymoron of when that status came through our office, like on time late. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Like you were on time and planning to be late. We couldn't understand it. We started laughing about it, and we laughed so hard about it, just like how oxymoronic it was and just how stupid it sounded. That I was like, you know what? That's it. That's exactly what we're gonna do. Canceled for maintenance, on time late. Hell yeah. we had such a laugh with it. And then that basically became our mantra, I guess you would call it. Like that was our click. That was our thing. Like we're on time late. We plan to be late.
We're always on time late.
Yes. I don't get
But
it.
it always throws people off. Like, what the hell do you mean on time late? And then you always have to give the backstory like Six just gave. But it's worth it because it makes you laugh every time.
It does. It does make it. We still laugh about this, and
Because the person who status is that way, our boss at the time or our overall boss at the time, he's like, "Yep, on time late," and you're going, "Hey, I'm not trying to rock the boat here or nothing, but I have some questions. How are we on time late? Like, I don't understand how you don't know that it's on time late." And you're like, "Well, just run me through the scenario of what made you status it as such." Well, you see, it pulled out of the chocks on time. However, it did not take off the ground. It did not leave Earth on time. Okay, so it was late. Well, no, not really, because it tried to go. I'm like, well, if that's the case, everything's on time. At that point, nothing. We never put anything out there like, oh, I hope this shit doesn't go. It was so good. I mean, looked us dead in the face with his old Basset Hound face he had, and dead in the face said, "This is the status." I'm like, oh, okay. And I think we went back afterwards after he went home and changed the status back to like, nah, that shit was late. Somebody's gonna look at this and fucking clown us.
Right? I think we're a bunch of freaking idiots, man.
We're gonna go through an audit and somebody's gonna wreck us over that one.
So that was in what's in the name. That was our thing, and that kind of set us up for the very first couple episodes. Like, this is how we're gonna be. We're gonna be very oxymoronic. We're gonna be very stupid with how we're gonna say things, and if we just like, okay, we can't wait. We were anxious to make this happen, and again, we were back to the logistics. What we had to do. How do we get things rolling? What we needed and stuff like that. It was.
How do we get this on a platform or any platform,
right,
that people are going to listen to it, right? How do we promote it? How do you?
Yes. Yeah. It was such a train wreck. Getting the wheels going, and it almost wrecked the show from the get go because we didn't know anything. It almost crashed itself before it even went off the chalks, if that makes any sort of sense. We were very close so many times to just say, you know what, this is too much bullshit. There's too much legwork behind this. Let's just not. But what kept us going, besides the fact that we started to see progress in this thing, was we had friends and family who believed in us enough to say, you know what, why not? And we started talking about this a little loosely to some of our friends about, hey, this is what we're planning to do. This is what we're trying to achieve. And they were jazzed, like straight up jazzed about it. Like, hell yeah, man, why not? And again, we started to do a search, like, what is there anything out there that sounds remotely like what we're trying to do? And we found next to nothing. And the more we started to reach out with people who are outside of aviation, they say like, what the fuck is an aircraft mechanic? I'm like, what? What?
Yeah, stuff we all take for granted, but there are people out there that are like, I don't even know what that is. And you're going, well, who do you think keeps the aircraft you fly on in the air? The pilot, I assume. Well, okay, I guess by that token, you're responsible for keeping your car on the road, but who fixes it? Well, I do. Okay, but what are you doing when you're fixing your car? I'm fixing it. It's like, no, maintenance, dummy. God damn it.
So that right there, it set us up for the, like, if there was any sort of resolution that we needed, that was it. Like, we're not only doing this for the people who suffer through this on the reg, it's also for people who have no knowledge whatsoever about all this world pretty much that's happening before their eyes, and they just have no freaking clue that it's going on. And that was it. That set us up for our first 4 episodes, pretty much our first 4 episodes. Like, this is how we're going to talk. This is how we're going to address it. This is the path forward. And off we went to, like, you know what, let's make this happen. We we got with some people. We started drafting up like, okay, this is how we work things out. This is how we're going to make it look. We designed our own logo. We patented our own logo, stuff like that. Like, and as these little wins started happening, even though it was like the most minuscule thing, like, hey, dude, we made stickers. I was like, this is it. Like, we were happy as shit.
I remember when we had our first t-shirts come in.
Yeah. Like this is it. Cancel for maintenance. Like, oh damn, dude, we're legit now. Hell yeah. It was just a shirt, but like we're legit now. Fuck yeah. But we still haven't had a recording done yet at that point. So we were celebrating before we actually put one through.
Yeah, and I think we even trademarked the logo and all that stuff prior to the first.
Yes, we did.
We were
did.
doing things like we were
already freaking winning, right?
Giant established show, right? You know, like we had that kind of, we were doing things like we had clout and I guess that was just our forward anticipation and hopefulness, right?
Yep. And then so we started looking around like, well, who can we talk like, right? Of course, everyone at the time was trying to be Joe Rogan and Jocko Willink and all these big names. Like, we just couldn't do it. Like, especially at the time, Joe Rogan was like being the podcaster. Like, he was the name in podcasting. I mean, he still was prior to the big boom of it all, but he was like the go-to inspiration. And we're like, yo, we can't talk for 4 hours flat for one episode. It's just not going to happen. So we said, you know what? Let's just go with it. Let's just go with the flow. And so here's day one, episode recording number 1. And the moment if there was a foreshadowing of how things were going to go from the future, it was the first 10 seconds of episode 1 or recording for episode 1. Because we sat ourselves in our little dinner table setup or set ourselves in the closet or whatever else. We fired everything out. We gave it a shot. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. The video wouldn't come through. The sound wouldn't come through. The computer wasn't reading the mic right.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
You name it.
That out of my memory.
You name it, it didn't work. And within the first 10 seconds, and it took us, I don't know, like almost 2 hours to get it all situated. And so we only allocated so much of our life to do this because we were still working and stuff, or we were still trying to find work, let's say that. And when this came about, we're like, well, fuck. So from that time on, we've always had some kind of technical difficulty, whether the connection wasn't strong enough, Zoom wouldn't work, the mic wasn't reading right, it was too loud, it was not loud enough. We had like nervous tics through it all. Like it was bad. But so here comes episode.
Yeah, what did Shoreline say? I had dragon breath or something like that.
Yeah, the dragon breath.
And the mic so much.
And then mine was like I kept squeezing things. Like I would have like a water bottle and you could hear my crunching in the background, or I had like a jug of water and I'll keep putting it up and down, drinking water, putting it up, put it down, and you can hear it every single time from the time I pick it up to the time I take a drink to the time I put it down. It's like everything. You heard everything, and it's like, wow, this is pretty bad. And I think I sounded like I was underwater for a while, and then I was in a like an open room because there was kind of like a hollow sound. Yep. I sounded like I was in my bathroom and stuff. I mean, it might as well be, but we've had mixed ones. Like you sound like you're in your bathroom, you sound you're like in a closet, and honestly, yeah, it was true. I was in a closet just to add some kind of noise dampening because life happens and we didn't have anywhere else to record other than each other's houses. So I mean, like you can only wrestle with kids to be quiet for so much, and we still kind of do. But the first 30 seconds was pretty bad. Or 30 seconds to 2 hours of troubleshooting, it was pretty bad. And then we kind of lost track of what we were going to say and do. And Shoreline, I believe, had this idea. I was like, you know what? Let me just have my video up. Let me turn your videos off because it's interrupting the connection, but I'll keep my video on just so you guys know that I'm still recording. Like, okay, sounds good to us. And I think it was either episode 1 or our trailer, episode 0, where Shoreline had this video up. We started just rambling, just started talking. and he was laughing the whole time. And so it became like this unspoken challenge between MVP and I to just try to make Shoreline laugh. So we would just say like some random stories of some mechanic stuff, and he would just be cracking up, like just bawling his mind off.
Yeah, that was our gauge of like, are we, because when you're doing this, like, we're talking to each other, we're talking to a guest, but it's not like you have a live audience there giving you instant feedback on if you're doing well enough or not. So having him there for that was like justification that what we were doing was right.
Yes. And like he was laughing out of control. And mind you, Shoreline had next to no knowledge of aviation. He knew a little bit because he traveled a lot, but besides being a passenger, he knew next to nothing. So if he was laughing, I was like, okay, good. We're doing something right. As MVP said, we're like, so it started to become a challenge to make him laugh. And then that's how we found our groove. We had our nervous ticks in the very beginning for like the first 30 minutes, trying to nail episode 0 down, because we did like, I don't know, like 5 takes or something like that. Cause we were just all over the fucking place. And then, episode 1 comes on, which was, Raiders of the Lost Tool. That was one we felt passionately because it happened so often, especially in the organization we were at. And so we had a lot of passionate words to say about that. And some of the stuff with the jokes that just came flying off the hinge. Like, we didn't know how we came up with it. We didn't know that it was going to string together. It was just like, I think one joke that sent me off the rails was when MVP said looking for parts is like, or looking for tools is like Harry Potter trying to find his wand for the first time, just like run his fingers around the boxes. And I was rolling. I was trying so hard not to laugh during that one episode. And I think you could hear me kind of like wheezing, almost trying to hold back my laughing in that first episode. And from when that happened, it was like set in stone. Like, this is it. Where any reservations we had of it was just gone. And what people didn't know is we recorded episodes 0, 1, 2, and 3 all in the same day, like pretty much continuous the same day. But you could almost hear a stark transition from episode 0, episode 1, and then episode 2, because we found our groove. We kind of, whatever nervousness we had of it just went away, because we knew what we were saying. We knew how to make each other comfortable with how we were talking, because that was one thing that we had a very hard adjustment, was hearing our own voices in the headphones. At least me, anyway. It was very off-putting. It was very weird. And I still, to this day, I still can't fathom hearing my own voice through a radio, much less. It's weird. It's weird to me.
If I'm being honest, I don't think I've listened to one episode we've recorded. I think Kool-Aid started listening to one in the car one day, and I had to turn it off and then I had to apologize to her. She said, "Why are you apologizing?" I said, "Because you have to listen to my voice every day, and I sound like that." I just, I guess that's why I have a face for radio. Just...
Yeah. Contrary to what MVP says, his voice, in my opinion, his voice is what made the show, because he just had a natural flow with things, especially when it came to jokes. Like the first 3 episodes, I was rolling because of how quickly he fired off jokes, and it was so hard for me to talk because I was laughing so hard. And that's why if you hear even now, like I still kind of like have like these little filler word laughs, because I'm just cracking up. And it got so routine that I just like, you know what, that's my thing now. I just, that's how I complete a sentence now, is I just laugh. And
although that kind of said, I feel like I don't joke as much as I used to. Do you feel the same way? Or longtime listeners, do you guys feel the same way? Because I feel like I don't smoke and joke as much as I used to. And if that's the case, I don't know why. I don't know what's changed in me. Older and fatter and grumpier. I don't know. But yeah, let me Six, let me know your thoughts on that. But then, you listeners out there, hit us up on the medias and give me your feedback on that too. Because if I'm an old sad panda these days, then I'd like to go back to the old smoky and jokey MVP.
Me personally, I mean, I can say this now. Me personally, I think it's more like it's like a maturation period we went through because the first couple of episodes we were very passionate and angry, rightfully so because of the way things were unfolding in our workplace, and we've slowly evolved into, instead of just bitching about it, we're trying to give little tidbits about what we did to fix it, right? And so you guys will hear it like as we move along. That we kind of went into like a not more mellow tone, but more like, okay, I joke around, but I can also be serious. That's just kind of how our minds went. But again, like we can easily turn it on and off. Like if you see us in real life, like how the fuck are these dudes even employed, much less running a show that people listen to? And going a little bit forward before we like try to, we honestly should make like a series of this behind the scenes stuff, because honestly, like I said, I fall in love with our origin story and all the struggles that we went through to get this show going. And we knew that we hit a spot once we started making for one, we knew we hit a spot for one when Shoreline started laughing that first recording day. And we shot like basically 3.5 episodes in one day. And then once we got that groove going, it was like we couldn't shut up. we couldn't stop ourselves. And as we were doing the show, we started realizing, like, yo, I feel better. Like, even if the episode didn't have good material, or at least we felt like it didn't have good material, we felt better about ourselves for saying it, for doing it. It started to turn into our little, our own personal therapy session. Because
it still is, to be honest with you, for me at least.
It's still, yeah, you're right.
It's the weekly therapy session.
It is. It very much is, and I still do, because I like being able to release some tension, pass on some stuff, and then MVP and I and Shoreline, before we hit the record, we always have like this big vent or this big joking session, and it carries over into the episode. It's pretty great, and I love it. So once we got that feeling that it's relieving for us and it makes Shoreline laugh, we recorded about 5 episodes, pre-recorded or preloaded, I would say. 5 episodes to go, because we didn't know at the time how we wanted to set up the show. We didn't know if we wanted to make it a series where we took breaks. We didn't know if we wanted to make it a season or whatever. So we said, you know what, let's just do 5 episodes and go from there. I believe Shoreline wanted to have 8. I couldn't remember the exact number, but I
believe it was 8. Yeah.
So I remember it was more than 3 for sure.
I think that we were trying to still figure out the pacing of the show, right?
Right. Yeah. And then
some people like Joe Rogan, right? He releases 1 or 2 a day, even sometimes. And some people are, every other day. Some people are twice a week. Some people are once a week. Some people are every other week, once a month. Just kind of just pick your what am I trying to say? 6. Jeez.
Oh, like pick your pace or pick your poison.
Yeah. Pick your poison.
Yeah. So for us, like, we didn't know. And again, we, to our knowledge, we were the first ones to do this. Like, I mean, we could be totally off base in that, but that's what it felt like, because we were the only ones who were mechanics who talked about the things we did. Or at least with the goal that we had in mind anyway. So we did about 5 episodes, and we scheduled them out like a month apart, just to kind of, actually not a month. We scheduled them like a week apart, just to kind of see where it would fall. Like we only scheduled 3 because we didn't know if 4 or 5 would even become popular. So we kind of like just dipped our toes in it. Like, let's see how people receive this kind of thing. And we scheduled episode 1, and we were nervous. We were nervous as shit, man. Like, oh man, what if people say we suck? What if people just like, who the fuck are these dudes? Like, why do they talk the way they do? Why do they do this? Why do they do that? Like, we were real nervous. We were scared of criticism, basically. Well, kind of, sort of. We were scared of how it would be received, especially at the time. Like, the only podcast people had available to go to base themselves off of was Joe Rogan, Jocko Willink, and all these other big names, or Oprah Winfrey and shit. Like, well, fuck, I ain't no damn Oprah. I'll say that much. So we shouted off like, you know what?
You get a car. You get a car.
You get a car. We shouted off like, you know what? Whatever. Fuck it. So we put it out. We didn't pay any mind about how it performed. Shoreline did. He kind of was the one. We were kind of like, I don't want to see the results. I kind of just want to tell me if it's good. Don't say nothing if it's bad, kind of thing. Episode 1 drops. It was like August of 2020. Like the third week of August, I want to say it was. And we were expecting to get like 0 hits, like next to nothing. And then we show up to work one day and some people are like, dude, I listened to your show. I'm like, what? Yeah, I listened to your show on the way to work. It's fucking great. I was laughing the whole way through. And like, are you serious? Like, yeah. So when's your next one? Oh, you're serious. Like, oh, you're serious. And then more people started coming and saying, hey, I liked your guys' show. I listened to your show. Or they say, or someone would say to another person, dude, you should listen to their show. What? Oh, damn. This is a thing. And episode 2 dropped and then more people started coming through. But our listenership was very small. It was like basically like people we worked with at the time. And I think it was like maybe like the first month and a half, we were just, if we got 1 tick mark on the listenership, we were happy as shit. Like, oh, 3 listens, 5 listens. Oh, fucking hey, people are listening to our show. We were happy as shit.
Dude, I remember one episode, I don't remember what it was, but we had like 300 downloads. Or no, maybe it was for the month. We had 300 downloads total for the month, and we were like, hey, I made it. You know?
Like, I fucking made it.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
Right? We were happy as shit, right? So, for those listening, I mean, the numbers are great, but don't let that sway you on how to run your show. I mean, do your show how you want to do your show. But like I said, for us, it was huge because we didn't expect anybody to like this, especially the way we pitched it. And for the first 6 episodes, we had a shit ton of haters, a lot of haters. And MVP was the one that actually made the comment like, well, we must be doing something great because people hate us. Like only the great ones get haters. Like, you know, that's right. That's true. That's 100% true. And what's funny is like those negative comments actually helped us because now people are like, well, why does it suck? And then they end up falling in love with the show.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we actually had some people like, it's not very good. Oh, can you tell us kind of what's not good about it? I don't know, just some of the stuff you guys talk about. Can you be more specific? And then they've been listening to us since like day 1, you know?
Yep.
No more negative comments. Because you just confirm, you're like, well, can you give us like helpful hints? Oh, you were just being negative to be negative. Cool.
Yeah. Or even like you guys just, all you guys do is bitch about work. All you guys do is just complain. Someone made a comment like, is this how you guys get women and stuff like that? I'm like, no, it's just how I feel about work. Right. And as we started going on, like those negative comments actually helped us. And we went through a transition period where we're like, we started shifting from just venting about our frustrations to kind of venting and teaching. But as we were going on, like it was such a blast doing it. And we can go into a whole nother episode about how we've how our external achievements became validated or how our efforts became validated. Let's say that. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But it was such a huge ride for us. And it was, I think the most gratifying part of it all, besides the fact that it was a therapy session for us is, well, at least in my mind anyway, this is me being complacent, probably like the one and only time ever, is I feel like we put aircraft maintenance on the map as far as radio shows is concerned. And I say that because a lot of people started telling us like, dude, you say what we want or you say what we feel, but we don't say it ourselves. I can't remember who was the one who said that to me, but when they did mention that, I'm like, thanks, man. That means we did something right, or we're doing something right. And now looking forward, 2 year, well, going on 3 years now, or 3 years later, we're being streamed by all these different countries. We've hit so many lists. We're getting all these accolades and stuff. And the accolades are fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but the one that shocked me the most, and MVP can attest, is the fact that all these different countries are starting to tune in. And we mentioned this at the beginning of the episode. Like, so many of you are starting to, you're starting to jive with what we're saying, and that to me, or that to us, is the big one, because now like there's some weight behind it. It's not just us shouting into the void by ourselves.
Yeah, there's validation to it. And despite the many different languages, and the language barriers, people, continue to listen, which must mean that, we've got something, what we're saying is hitting home.
Yes. And that's the biggest one for us, because more than anything, when we started the show, and we still believe this to this very day, is beyond the fame, beyond the money, beyond the possible futures, the one thing we absolutely wanted to do is make a difference. We want to make a difference. We want to make an impact. We want to, as we said in previous shows, we want to give you that split moments relief in your day, so you guys don't get involved in a mishap. We don't want you to make the same wrong turns as we did, because we made a shit ton of them.
Yeah, and we still do, right? We're human. We're all human. We all will continue to make mistakes throughout our journey. But if we can be more open and communicative and share our experiences, maybe we can prevent any repeat recurs, and our failures will all be untapped. Geez, I'm at a loss for words today, everybody. I'm sorry. Unnavigated waters, uncharted waters, so to speak.
Yep.
We failed because it's an area none of us have been in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're all learning for the first time. But whoever hits those uncharted waters first, whatever you learn and discover, pass it on to the next behind you. Pass it to the boat behind you. And let them, okay, well, they went over there and hit some rocks, so I'm going to go, that was hard left, so I'm going to go hard right. Oh, over there, there's a kraken. Okay, well, let me pass that back to next. All right, let me shoot straight up the middle.
Yep.
And that's how we all learn and grow in both our personal and professional lives.
Yes, very much so. So, we definitely will probably make this like into a multi-part series, because honestly, like I said, like we're just very involved in making this happen, making this work. And we can talk about all the different stuff that we've pioneered for both ourselves and for aircraft maintenance in general, that at least we feel that we've pioneered that too. So it brings more to the fray for aircraft mechanics, aircraft technicians, aircraft specialists all over the place. So really, we're grateful for every single one of you for tuning into us, giving us the inspiration to keep on going, and then keep bombarding us with all these different questions, these different feelings and opinions to help us learn together. Because again, like as MVP said, like it's not about making the impact. It's not about just keeping it to yourself. It's about passing it on so other people don't have to make the same mistakes over and over again. Like we're well past that. Like we're tired of it. We've seen the results of it, and it's high time for a change for that to happen. But yeah, definitely. I'm actually at a loss for words. I'm actually starting to choke up right now. Like, holy shit, man! this has been fun. This has been actually, it is still fun. It's such a wild ride, and we wish we could like have like this mini convention or have like this trip where we can just meet every single one of you some way, shape, or form, because y'all are basically the ones who make this happen and make this fun, really.
Yeah, we'd love to get to it. We've had so many discussions over the years. but we'd love to get out and visit you guys and visit your areas of work and maybe do sort of an on the road show kind of thing where, we can sit down in your place of operations and kind of just talk to you and have a conversation about what you got going on there and your trials and tribulations. And also we'd love to get our own studio and be able to bring people to us and sit down in a no kidding studio and have these same conversations. Right. I think that would be like the best for us. Is we'd love to get to the point where we're face to face with everybody.
Yes, absolutely. I guess this would be like a good continuation for a part 2 of this, possibly 3, 4, 5. Who knows? Any final thoughts on this, like the origin story and the passing it down, and like what's in the name for us, MVP, or anything in general, really?
Just thank you all for your support and continued support. We'll keep doing what we're doing, mainly because it's good for our mental health, but hopefully it's good for yours as well. We'd love to kind of be that beacon of light and hope and guidance for all of you, and no matter what you're dealing with, both work, both your professional and personal lives. Love interacting with all of you on social media. Please continue doing that. And if you have any genuine questions, feel free to ask. Never be afraid to ask. We say it all the time, but we'd love to get a grip of questions that we could kind of compile together and answer, and then do an episode about it. Hey, look, we've received 50 questions from a group of our listeners, and we'd like to go over those and our answers to them. Yes,
very much so. And if there's anything else besides our gratitude you're getting from this, is that if you've contemplated on starting a show, if you've contemplated on taking that next step and you're a little bit on the fence about it, this is us saying, like, just why not? Take the shot, try it out. If you fail, you fail, move on, try something else. But if you succeed, what if you succeed and now you find out you're good at it? Like, you never know unless you try. We ourselves, if this episode has shown anything, like, we did not know a single thing, and we've went through every possible road bump along the way to get it going, and we're still here. We're still having fun. This is still very therapeutic for us, and we're still doing our best to connect with you, the listeners, which we are absolutely grateful for having. So let us know. Do you guys want us to go a little bit more in depth into some of these episodes? Is there any way we can connect with you better? What are some of your questions for either us professionally, either aviation wise, podcast wise, whatever? We're always open to answer this. We say this so much, but we genuinely believe it. We're here to help in one way, shape, or form. We're here to help. So let us reach out to us in the various social medias, our website, emails, our mailing list, our link tree, all that stuff. Whichever way is easiest for you, we will do our very best to get with you or answer your question and either help you directly or point you in someone that can help you find the solution, because that's what it's all about. On that note, thank you all for listening to our little history lesson. We hope to do this again soon, and we'll see you all again next time.
Bye, everybody.
We would like to take this time to thank our patrons for supporting our show and allowing us to make episodes, maintain our gear, and create merch for all of our listeners. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Eric Shaw, Dan Schubert, Ryan Frushauer, Kyle Keir, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockhill, and Jennifer Brofer. Thank you all so much for your support and patronage. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. You'll receive awesome perks like access to our private Discord, discounts and early access to our merch, first glimpse of our comics and other projects, and so much more. You can further support us and show off your prowess as an aircraft specialist by visiting our shop at cancelformaintenance.com. If you like classy or rugged watches, visit our affiliate Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX, the number 4MX to save 10% off your total order. If you have suggestions for the show or you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com, and we'll do what we can to get both your ideas and yourself on the show. Please support us on social media like Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, Instagram at CANX for Maintenance Podcast, or Twitter at CXMX Podcast. Please check out our new comic series on the Tapas app. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on our comics. Let us know what you think. Thank you all so much for your support and listenership, and we will catch you all next time.